Alrighty guys, it is DT here today for the last time before I rebrand and move on from Murder Drones content on this channel. Now I originally said that this video was the last Murder Drones review at the episode 8 review, and that it would be the last video on my channel about Murder Drones. But after seeing episode 8, I may have a bit more to say, but at least for now, this is the last Murder Drones video by me. Some may leave, but I want you guys to know I will still talk about indie animation in general, and I will cover some of Liam's other works. I hope to still provide you valued content, even without Murder Drones being around. But let's get into this video. Now this is a direct follow-up to the ending of episode 7 Mass Destruction, but I'm not going to recap that for the 45th time. This episode begins with the gravity of the planet being completely shattered, and we see various parts of Copper 9 floating above the surface. We then finally get to see the emo grape herself, Uzi, floating above the atmosphere, into which we can see the chaos that Sin is causing. I know I used to call her Sinessa, and some even still call her Tessin, but in Glitch's marketing recently and the episode itself, she's just referred to as Sin, so that's what I'll be calling her for the sake of this video. Now, we finally get an Uzi and Nori interaction, kinda. What do I mean? Well, this is where my critiques of this finale start to rear their ugly head. So Nori and Uzi talk by writing out their thoughts and showing signs on their facial displays with no audible dialogue. The only other time they ever speak is when Nori says, "Kick her butt, babe." After that, we never even hear Uzi throughout the entire episode speak to Nori with audio. That's kind of a huge letdown in my opinion, if I'm being completely honest. Since again, this is the finale after all, and we deserve to see some nice wholesome moments between the two, but this episode moves so fast that they barely give us anything to work with, and it's extremely disappointing to me. Anyways, following this interaction, N picks up Uzi seemingly out of nowhere, and the two hug it out yet again. Shortly after their reunion, Sin is back and rips the spaceship apart, causing both Uzi and N to fall back down into the atmosphere to the point where they begin to light on fire. In the teaser, I had thought that this would hurt them, but they don't seem very fazed by it. But what upset me about this part of the episode was this line here. Uzi randomly asks N if they're dating, to which N says yes. I know their relationship has been built up for a bit, but I still kind of feel this felt a bit forced in my opinion, and just kind of dropped on you out of nowhere. When I was watching, I was like, wow, we're already starting with newsy stuff. We barely cracked 2 minutes. Speaking of the runtime, or lack thereof, it only clocks in about 20 minutes and 34 seconds long. Include the intro and longer than usual credits since this is the ending after all. The episode is actually about 19 minutes and 30 seconds long, roughly. Disappointingly short for a series finale, I might add. I don't want to sound ungrateful, but considering the flaws of this episode, I think a bit longer of a duration and maybe letting it have more time to cook certainly wouldn't have hurt anyone. When I first saw that runtime, my first thought was, how are they going to squeeze all this in 20 minutes? And they didn't really even attempt to squeeze it all in there, opting to leave a ton out. The episode left me with more questions than answers, but I will say this, I do not want it to go unheard. This episode looked absolutely amazing from an audio, visual, and voice acting standpoint. Congratulations to all those who put hours of their life away to make a final episode for this show. Their work definitely does not go unnoticed. I'm simply unhappy with how it turned out in a writing standpoint. I still support these artists and their work does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. But with that out of the way, let's continue. After this forced newsy confirmation, the two go down to fight Sin, burning up in the atmosphere in the process. We then cut to Jay versus Khan, Thad, and Lizzie in the area that last stood during episode 7 is now a floating chunk in space, which was a cool scene to watch. Jay goes to fire a missile attempting to kill all three, and out of nowhere V comes back riding on a sentinel with the hat on. V then begins to fight Jay and confirms that Jay is in fact working for Sin and implies that Jay has always been in on it. Or at least this clone Jay was in on it. Before I continue this recap, another point that makes me a bit upset is V's return. Now look, I love V, she's one of my favorite characters and I always want her to come back, but she comes literally out of nowhere, which is not that bad in of itself, but an explanation to how she even survived would have made it a little less aggravating. We do actually get somewhat of an explanation, and it's just a blink and you miss it moment, so much in fact that one of my fans actually pointed it out to me on my second viewing, which it was revealed that Lizzie was actually texting her bestie V the entire time, and we see V gloating about how she survived the Sentinels, and all we get is this image of V putting a Sentinel in a headlock, and that's the only explanation we got. I would have liked a flashback scene or a few more images to show how this is even possible, but it feels more like the decision was made to bring back V, and explains it came afterward, and she even returned in mint condition, I might add, and that also felt really lazy. If her condition remained unknown, I wouldn't have minded that, since there's no holes to fill, but here we need a better explanation than, yeah, I lived, haha lol. As they fight, we return to Uzi and N fighting Sin, to which Uzi throws a null her way, Sin catches the null, crushes it, and is now face to face with En and Uzi at the same time. While Uzi seems fearless and more angry than anything else, En here is shaking and nervous, almost as if he's been traumatized by Sin in the past and does not think that he could actually defeat her. We get to see Sin remove Uzi's squid core from her chest when Sin puts her arm through her chest, but En is able to save Uzi and brings Sin's attention towards him, to which she tries to do the same to Uzi, giving her enough time to regenerate and save them both. Following these near-death experiences, J and V's fight continues, but inside, Uzi and En hide from Sin, and she uses her arms to locate them, calling it a callback ping. And during this, En starts to panic a bit and has a brief flashbacks to where we can see a made V but dead, showing En in fact has been traumatized from his last encounter with Sin. V also tries to find En during this scene as well, but En ends up blowing his cover and gets his core removed by Sin, which it was interesting to see a disassembly drone core for once. And when Sin comes back outside, we see En's squid core about to be eaten, which is honestly terrifying since En is mine and many other people's favorite character. We get to see Khan and Thad and Lizzie again, and Thad throws Uzi the newly repaired railgun. She catches it in Nori's pickaxe, and the final fight finally begins here. During this fight, we get a new track called Bite Me played on Nori's iPod from earlier. There's not much else to detail during these moments since a lot of it has just become fighting in action, rather than any dialogue being said during these fights. During the final fight, Jay gets knocked unconscious and falls down, and this fight moves so quick that I totally forgot about Jay's condition on my initial viewing. But I will say the action did not disappoint. The fighting was absolutely incredible, but it's just that the episode felt way too fast paced. The fighting took the spotlight on more character interactions. For example, Nori and Khan finally talked. Well, kind of. Nori only says, "You don't know me and I hate you," to which all that Khan says is "that's kinda hot." That's the only on-screen verbal interaction between the two in the entire episode. Them even communicating at all felt like they had to just check a box on a list and say, "Yeah, we made them talk. Are you happy now?" Which really disappointed me, which is why I feel like the episode was a bit rushed in terms of its writing. The animation was not rushed at all. It looks great, but it seems like most of the time and true thought went into the animation rather than a good compelling conclusion. But at the end of this battle, Uzi manages to rip out Sin's squid core and uses her null to destroy it. Sin's null expands, and this is with the purest form of her. Time appears to stop, and all we hear is Sin's core beating like a heart while her body moves closer to Uzi. Suddenly, Uzi eats the core and swallows it, and Sin's body's reaction was actually pretty funny here, causing Uzi to collapse to the ground. When En finds her after she passed out, Uzi's eyes are now a mix of yellow and purple after she ate the core. And then we are back in the classroom when Uzi's showing the class the events that have recently transpired on a video. We get another reference to Uzi when En calls her his girlfriend. Great. Which I already said I didn't like how forced it felt in this episode. I know it's been having build up throughout the entire show, but in this episode it wasn't built up very much and kind of was just dropped on you as I said earlier. This episode overall felt a little too fast paced for me. There wasn't much time to really breathe and have things build up like Uzi in the episode. As well, it made us miss out on more Khan and Nori interactions and time to see those two talk again and maybe have some emotional moments of Khan finding out Nori's still alive. And also the same with Uzi and Nori. I would have really enjoyed the whole family having a moment thing, but that isn't here. Heck, Uzi and Khan don't even talk here. Now I want to make something clear, I don't hate this episode, I'm just a little bit disappointed from a writing standpoint on how it turned out. But it's what the credits tease that gives me some hope for this series. They seem to tease a continuation of some kind throughout these end credits. We get to see that Jay's still alive and is now repairing the spaceship, after Sin had already busted it. We also get to see Nori and Khan playing a card game together, so it's nice to see the two are interacting in some form again, even if we don't really hear it. En and Uzi are playing with them as well, showing that Khan no longer hates the Murdrones, well at least En and V, that for that matter. We get to see a person in the flickering light whose identity is unknown. It looks similar to Doll, but we are not really sure. It looks like a tease to do something down the road. We see En and Uzi watching a Murdrones anime, which is really sweet to see, because the prom stage now says dead. And we see a tribute to Doll, who was killed by Sin. We then see a rooftop of a skyscraper. The next shot we see looks to be on the same rooftop to where we see V and a dingo playing a game of chess. Uzi and En are also flying in the background near the light, in a nice wholesome scene here, and they are now officially a couple. We can also see Lizzie texting, but it's not V this time since she's already not on her phone and playing a game of chess. So also we do get to see a key bug on the top of the dingo's head, which is a cute detail I might say. A new centipede creature now resides inside of the Cairo sleep chamber now, and we get a post-credit scene of Uzi with her new yellow and purple mixture eyes. The solver talks to her through her tail and gives her what looks to be Tessa's bow. Uzi then slams the locker and we're greeted by a cute message that says "K thanks bye." The post-credits and credits seem to suggest that there is room for more story here, and looks like Liam is intentionally placing things to renew interest in the show. And if you read these episodes' descriptions, it says, "Finally, we wanted to say that although this is the end of Merge-Ons as a series, we may want to do more with Uzi and N. Who knows? We can do anything we want with indie animation." This leaves hope for the fanbase. This may be referring to a Glitch Season 2, but maybe a comic continuation more likely of some sort. Or maybe some big project like an hour special or something in the future, but this proves that there is still interest, and Glitch and Liam still love this show to death. Something new that's official will happen sometime. I want to thank you all for watching all my Merge-Ons videos up until now. This is my last major Merge-Ons video, but if there's ever any indication of new content, I will definitely talk about it. That I can guarantee you. This series has done so much for me and my YouTube career, and I couldn't be prouder of you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. I will talk more indie animation next time. Thank you, my fans, Merge-Ons, and this community. But let me know down in the comments if you liked episode 8, or do you think it should have had a little bit more to it. Thanks for watching, and take care.